welcome. Today I have a kind of grungy art tag in pinks and orangey yellows, which is probably my favorite. I'm starting with a Bristol Smooth paper tag that I cut on my Cricut. Use whatever tag you have, although I would suggest it be mixed media paper of some sort. And I'm going to take a stencil from Tim Holtz, and I'm going to do most of it through the stencil with old paper. You know, that's one of my favorites. But I'm mainly sticking to the left side. And I have a first time use of a product that I've been waiting for and longing for, and I finally got it, and it is some transparent texture paste in Crackle, and I'm super excited about that, to use that. And I mean, if you've already seen me use it, I mix up my videos sometimes, so I don't necessarily go in order. And so maybe you've already seen me use it, but this is really the physically first time I've used it. And it goes on just like the other one, kind of like spreading yogurt across it. So I taped off a couple areas that I did not want it to come across. It probably really wouldn't have mattered anyways, but I did tape it off. But I'm covering the entire left side of it. And of course that goes right in the bath water. And so I'm hoping you can see the crackle in it. It's a real fine crackle. You'll see it better once I get some color in it. But oh my gosh, I love this so much. I don't know why it took me so long to buy it, but it did. And so I'm gonna add some spray, distress sprays down. I did picked raspberry. That was the first color I did. I end up kind of backing that down because it's pretty bright. I mean, I knew it was gonna be pretty bright, but I did kind of cover it with some kitsch flamingo, which is softer pink. I was trying to describe that one, but anyway, so I knocked back the real brightness of it, and maybe you can start to see it going into the cracks and crevices of the texture paste. But I will be adding a lot of, oh, see there, maybe you could see it better. And kind of add some browns too to kind of grunge it up. So we got a little ways to go. And then so I have a couple Oxide. I have one that's orange. I think that's carved pumpkin. And then the yellow one is wild honey Oxide. And I end up going with the yellow. I kind of wish I might have gone with the carved pumpkin, but The yellow was fine, and I was just maybe trying to get something a little bit different than the pink. You know, pink and yellow goes well, pink and orange goes well. And I do splatter some over the right side. I didn't want to spray on top of that pink and lose it totally. And I'm drying it between so that the colors will layer instead of just run together. So I'm knocking it back from the texture paste a bit so that you can see the old paper coming through a little more. And I'm adding a little bit of picked raspberry spritz. And that will just give it a little bit of shimmer here and there. And doing it with the nozzle lets me kind of splatter it instead of spray it. And then there was some open area at the bottom, so I just kind of fill it in with a brush. I'm going to start to grunge it up a little bit, and so I'm going to add some vintage photo splatter, and then I'll actually add some vintage photo spray stain, distress spray stain. I'm also going to put a little bit around the edges. Now the splatter's not dry yet, so I'm just kind of making sure that I'm not spreading that or getting my finger in it. You could also wait for it to dry. I have a couple scrappy things that I've cut on my Cricut that so I grabbed one of those, a piece of it, so I think I'm gonna add that in, and I do. I'd also thought about using the doily, a portion of the doily. It's a paper doily, and so I actually put some stain on it or some ink on it, but I don't end up using that. I think if I would have done a different color, it might have worked out better, but it was too much brown. And I'm adding just a tiny bit of scorched timber so that the piece has just varied colors of brown. It doesn't look so flat. going to do a little bit of stamping on the right side where there isn't texture paste. And this stamp set is the Obscure. And it's got a little script stamp that you really can't read. It's kind of obscure. And so I'm just stamping that with some Pebble Beach. I wasn't sure how dark I wanted to go to know how much I wanted to see. So it's very faint in the background. And then I have this number stamp that is one of my favorite number stamps, and it's from Rubber Dance. And I'm going to stamp that in a couple different places in potting soil. I like the idea of the doily. I just think it needed to be a different color, but I didn't think of that at the time. If I had done it in maybe a pink or an orange, or even maybe the old paper, that might have been nice. Actually, using old paper to bring that color back out. My work surface looks quite a mess. Before I start collaging, the color just wasn't sitting right with me. It looked too orange. So this is when I'm adding my kitsch flamingo to kind of knock back the picked raspberry and the wild honey, just to kind of soften it up. And this is an oxide, so that kind of helps age it a little bit. And then now I'm adding some vintage photos spray, just to kind of give it a little bit of grunge effect. And I'm just kind of letting it drip down, but knocking it back as well. And then just wiping away so I can see my texture paste and give it a dry. Once it's dry, it lightened up quite a bit. So I guess to me you don't have to stop, oh, I've got it all covered. You can, you don't want to make mud because that's easy to do. And by that I mean the color mud. So you want to, but you can add color, especially if you dry between. Okay, so I'm just looking at what I think I want to add for my collage. And I thought about that bird, but it was not enough contrast. So I have this magnolia flower, and I thought that would go good. And keeping the little, kind of looks like waffle paper to me, keeping that in, and then just adding a few more pieces of ephemera. All of it is digital except for I use a Tim Holtz number strip and sentiment. So I'm just, trying out these different things. Some things are going to work, some things are not. If you have a bunch of stuff at the ready, then it's easy to pull it out and just, audition things. If you have to go and cut every piece, it's going to take more time. And then the vintage photo wasn't quite dark enough on the edge for me, so I'm going around with the walnut stain. And here I'm just trying to come up with the final layout of how I want everything to go. And so far, it's the ones I have in my final. I love that magnolia flower. I think I'm going to have quite a few links in this one because all these are different digital links, which doesn't mean you have to get them. It just means I have a bunch, but use what you have. If you have a bunch of Tim Holtz stuff, use that. If you have old book papers, use that. So this is pretty much what I've set on, and I'm getting ready to glue it down. I have to say, so far, I'm really loving this art glitter glue. That circle there is, I mean, I'll be linking like a junk journal where it's got a bunch of different receipts and everything. And so I took one of the receipts and just punched part of it. And so when you see a big piece like that, you don't have to think of it as, oh, I got to use this big piece, but you can punch different things out of it. I've punched leaves and flowers. If you have a Cricut, you can lay it on your Cricut mat and cut it. Or if you have a Sizzix. I don't have a Sizzix. I debate it, but I think I have a Cricut. I can cut just about anything I want, but sometimes I look at the Sizzix and think, that's really cool what you can do with that. Maybe if I find one at a yard sale or something, I'll pick one up. Because I think I would only want it for like leaves and some shapes. I'm not a card maker. I have no interest in making cards. So, I don't know. We'll see. The flower, I'm wanting it to stand apart a little bit. Now it would anyways because of the kind of waffle cut thing I have back there. But I even want it more, so I'm just taking a scrap I have. You know how I print everything on 90-pound paper, so that leaves me scraps all the time. And so I'm just punched 3 whole circles with the 90-pound paper. I'm stacking them. 90-pound it's got some weight to it, but it's not real thick. I mean, it's easy to cut, easy to punch, and so it's not horribly thick right now. So just laying it on top is not going to raise it, too much. And I put a little glue on my stem just to keep that from going up and ripping on my leaf, and just glue the center circles down. I'm going to do a sentiment from the Clippings book, and it said, he said, full of bright hope. And I didn't like the he said there, so I just snipped off the he said. And I mean, I'll keep it. You never know if I might want it. But I liked the full of bright hope. And so I'm just gonna put a little bit of vintage photo on the edges and then glue that down to the bottom. It is sticky. It's a sticker book, but I want to make make sure, especially I've got texture paste there, I just like using glue to secure them just so it's not going to flake off at some point. And the last thing I'm going to do is add a ribbon through the hole in the top. I'm using my rayon seam binding that I got off Amazon, and it holds the color really well, and it gets a little all wrinkly, and it just works out well. So I'm going to use old paper because there's a lot going on this, so I thought I'd just keep it simple and use old paper and dry it just with that. And that's it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. I did. I love that texture paste. You'll be seeing me use that again real soon, I'm sure. If you haven't subscribed, I invite you to do so. And if you liked this, please give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. I do have some final pictures coming up, so stay tuned for those. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day.